Natalie is back in New York after surviving, and that's the right word, the music festival on that Saturday morning, October the 7th in Israel, where 260 people died and a lot of young, beautiful people like Natalie. I mean, I think for me, the face of that whole thing was Shani Luke. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you knew her personally, if you were dancing anywhere near her.
Actually, my friend who just got married about a week before all of this happened, Shani Luke was one of her best friends and was at her wedding.
Oh, my God. Did you see her at all during that day?
No.
Tell me about that day. You know, I grew up, I have two older sisters, and they went to Woodstock. Mm-hmm. And, of course, that was a 2-day event. And it was just about music and love, and everybody was happy. And I'm told that this music festival in Israel, years and years later, obviously, kind of mirrored Woodstock. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, it's actually funny. That's a comparison that I've made myself in a lot of my speeches.
Really?
I'll talk a little bit about why. So out of all the like electronic music subgenres that there are, psytrance, I would say, is one of the smaller communities.
What do you call this?
Psytrance.
Now, what the hell is that?
That's the type of music that was at the Nova
So
Festival.
it wasn't the Grateful Dead or... So is that like house music? Or?
Yes. So it's a subgenre. There's like techno. There's all different types of subgenres. There's tech house, and then there's psytrance. And I would say the community, the type of people who go to psytrance events are very hippie-ish, and that's why I would compare them a lot to Woodstock. Yeah. It's because the type of people that go to these events are just the most loving, kind-hearted, sweetest, most pure people, and there's a lot of irony in the fact that they were the ones that were attacked. Yeah,
I guess you would just, throw out the weed for the Molly. In comparing Woodstock to your event.
I would say there's a lot of weed at psytrance
that
festivals
too.
as well.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Is weed legal in Israel? I don't even know.
I don't even know.
Well, it was legal those days. So, so when do you show up for that event?
Me and my 3 friends that I came with, we showed up at 1 a.m.
On Saturday morning?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did it actually start?
I think it started around 10 p.m. Friday night.
Friday night. Yeah. And how many friends did you actually go with?
So I arrived with 3 friends, all Israelis, and then we met up there with about 15 or 20 of their other friends.
And how far from the festival were you staying? How long was your trip?
So I think it was about a 2-hour drive.
Oh, wow, it's far.
Yeah, but once you get to the festival, you set up your campsite. And the campsites are surrounding the dance floor. So you can, like, when you're on your campsite, you can still hear the music.
So there's like a big stage in the middle.
Yeah.
And then kind of like Woodstock, that big grassy field, you guys set up tents.
But instead of a grassy field, we have sandy dirt.
Is that
it's Israel.
It looked that way. It was,
it's Israel. We don't really have good grassy fields.
All right. So you had sandy dirt and you set up camps and tents. And how many people would you estimate were actually there for this event?
I would say between 2,000 to 3,000.
2,000 to 3,000?
Around there.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Even when the attack started, that many?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was under the impression that almost everybody died. And of course, that's not the case. No. All right, so take me now. You get there about 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And what time is it when you start to hear stuff that's not music?
So we arrive at around 1, and we danced for about 2 hours till about 3:30. And then me and my 3 friends decided to go back to the campsite and rest. We were a little tired, I guess, from the drive and just from the whole week in general. There were a lot of holidays that week. And we decided to go rest for a few hours and wake up refreshed for the sunrise set of the festival.
So tell me again, how far is that campsite again from the actual stage?
Probably like a 2-minute walk.
2-minute walk, that's it. Okay, you're close.
So yeah, you can still hear the music. You could still see the people dancing like from your campsite. So we go to take a rest for a few hours, and we said, like, we're going to wake up for the sunrise set, which is generally the most exciting part of any festival. It's when the best DJs tend to go on. And we're sleeping, and at around 6:30, one of the girls from our campsite came back from the dance floor because she knew we were sleeping, and she wanted to make sure we were alert to what was happening,
so
alert to the situation.
She was able to escape, leave the stage area, and get back to your camp, and she was alive and well.
Yes.
And she said to you exactly what?
She woke us up, and with a big smile on her face, she said, "Good morning, guys. I just want you guys to know what's happening. I want you to be alert. A few rockets have been sent our way, intercepted overhead, But it's fine. It's normal for the area that we're in. It'll probably just be a few, and the party will probably continue.
So you were not under attack yet. The guys were not there who came in by hang gliders and drove in. This was just the rockets overhead. Okay.
So at this point, it was just the rockets, and everyone thought the party would continue. But I want you to imagine a festival happening anywhere else in the world where kids react in such a calm manner to rockets being intercepted over their heads and thinking like, oh, we're going to continue partying.
Well, you were high.
That actually, I was completely sober.
No,
I was sleeping.
Right.
But that simply wouldn't happen.
No, of course not.
But for Israeli
I'd be yelling
kids,
and screaming and crying. I wouldn't even know what to do.
Imagine Coachella, like all these kids would be screaming and crying and peeing their pants. Like they'd be freaking out. But for Israeli kids, this is their reality. If Israelis completely stopped their day every time a few rockets were sent their way, they would get nothing done.
Right.
This happens on a semi-regular basis. So at first we thought like maybe it really just will be a few, because at the end of the day we were by the Gaza border and this is something that happens.
How close to the Gaza border was that campsite?
In regards to feet?
If you're driving, how long would it take you?
I think maybe like 10
minutes. You're right there.
Something like that.
Right there, yeah.
And a lot of people asked, like, when I knew that it was so close, was I not nervous to go to this party? And there's a few things I'd like to point out. That first of all, with festivals like this in Israel, you usually don't receive the location until a few hours before the party starts.
That's all about security, right?
Yeah. So at this point, like it's already a few hours before, you're not going to not go to a party. And secondly, people need to realize Israel is surrounded by enemies. Yeah. So the day before the party, I went up to the north and I went hiking. Am I not going to go to the north because it's near enemies?
No, of course not.
No, you're going to live your life. You're going to go about your day.
What do your parents say? I mean, you're still young. You're in your 20s. Were your parents nervous, or they're like you? Nah, they're just used to this type of stuff.
My mom was born and raised in Israel. So for her, she's like, she encourages me to go to Israel every year. She encourages me to explore. Right. My mom in elementary school had to hide under her desk because they were being bombed and glass flew in her eye. You know, this is stuff she grew up with. And for my mom, it's like you can't live your life in fear all the time. You can't not experience life.
I agree. That's what they want, right? That's when the terrorists win.
Yeah.
So how long after your friend comes in and it's just rockets and she says, good morning, guys, blah, 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 do you all of a sudden come to the realization there are men on the ground here to kill us?
So that took a little bit of time. So from the moment she woke us up, we stood up. We're just looking up at the sky. We're seeing the rockets being intercepted. And after about maybe 5 minutes, we realized that this isn't just any other ordinary situation, that this is worse than that, because it wasn't just 5 or 7 rockets. It was 10, 15, 20. They just kept coming. And then eventually the festival security shuts off the music and announces on the loudspeakers for everyone to please pack up their campsite and evacuate to their cars.
Now, at that point, are you nervous? Or are you still like, okay, it's not great, but I'll be okay?
So I'll say personally, for me, from the moment she woke me up, I think my body went into an automatic state of shock and disassociation. And I never understood before this what an out-of-body experience felt like until this happened, because it felt very much out of body. It felt as if my mind and body was trying to protect itself from the intensity it was feeling. Yeah. And it was out of body in the sense that I didn't want to believe it was happening to me. Right. It felt like I was watching it happen to me.
So stick with that. So now the rockets are firing. Yes. You've got this out of body experience. The guys on the ground who killed some people you even knew that day aren't there yet, but they're coming. Mm-hmm. Stick with, and then now take me to the part where you actually find out there are men on the ground there to kill you.
So we evacuate to our cars and we start driving out. And eventually, after a few minutes, the festival security starts yelling at everybody to please pull their cars over to the side of the road and get out of their cars and start running. And at this point, we can't understand why they would ask us to do such a thing. Why would they tell us to run from rockets? But we listen to them because we know that they're just trying to help us. And we pull our car over, and that's when we hear the first gunshots. And as soon as we hear the first gunshots, we open our doors and we start to run. And try to imagine this festival took place in an open field. There's not many places to hide. Kids are running in every direction possible. One of the most terrifying things was running in a certain direction, thinking that you're running to safety, and then suddenly seeing dozens of kids from the group that first left, because there was like the first group that left. We were kind of in this middle group, and then there was the last group. And you suddenly see dozens of kids running in your direction, and you realize that they're being pursued and they're being shot at, and you now have to make a split-second decision and change directions in order to save your life. And a lot of people asked me, how did you know what decisions to make? How did you know what decision was going to get you killed or save your life? And I spoke to someone a few weeks ago who interviewed a lot of Holocaust survivors, and he said that when they were asked how they knew what decision to make in a life and death decision, in a life and death situation, they coined a phrase. They called it choiceless choices. And it's a choice where in a moment, you simply have to make a choice. You don't know which choice is going to be the right one, but you have to make a choice. And I think that perfectly describes every decision we made while running from the Hamas terrorists.
Wow. And how'd you eventually get away from, because a lot of folks ran and they ran into bomb shelters, which they blew up. They took the pretty girls for quote unquote rape and blew up the rest of the people with hand grenades. How were you able to get off the grounds and to complete safety? Because they had guys in cars waiting for you, didn't they?
So that's the thing. A lot of people asked if I survived because I was one of the first people to leave, and the answer is no, because that first group that left right in the beginning, most of them were killed because the Hamas terrorists were waiting for them. I was in this middle group where I think most of the survivors came from, that middle group, and then the last group, the ones that like stayed back at the festival grounds, they were also mostly killed because the Hamas terrorists came for them as well.
Did you see any people killed? Did you see the actual Hamas guys, or were you spared of all of that?
I was spared of most of that. Like I said, I saw those kids being shot down, but they were like running from down a hill, and I was kind of above them. Yeah. So I saw them from a distance. I always tell people if I saw the Hamas terrorists up close and personal, I probably wouldn't be here today speaking to you.
Oh, I know it would be a horrible thing. Thank God you didn't, and thank God you are here today speaking to me because, first of all, this is a great conversation, and you're courageous and brave and a young lady and beautiful. I've got a daughter not much younger than you, and I couldn't even imagine what you guys are going through those days and those days since, which I'm sure, do you wake up ever in the middle of the night and just start sweating, or you hear those rockets, or hear the kids screaming, or how's that gone for you since you've left?
I think the only time I have kind of like a PTSD reaction is anytime I hear a very loud noise that resembles the rockets being intercepted. I kind of like panic for a second.
Yeah.
I was also in a bathroom at one point at a restaurant, and they were playing a song, and an alarm went off. And my automatic reaction was like, oh my God, I have to get out of this bathroom and go into a bomb shelter. And then it occurred to me that it's just a song and that I'm no longer in Israel.
I'm sorry. Tell me about this group CAM that you work with now every day.
So I started working since this happened, since I've come back to the States for the Combat Anti-Semitism movement. And what they do is they set up summits to meet with world leaders and to talk about anti-Semitism all over the world and how we can fight it. And the work that they are doing is especially important right now because since coming back from Israel and since surviving the Hamas terrorist attack, I have honestly felt less safe here than I felt at any point in Israel with all of the attacks that are happening here, especially in New York. New York is the place where I grew up, where I called home my entire life. And suddenly I see my friends feeling unsafe here, hiding their Jewish star necklaces, taking the mezuzahs off their doors, which is a prayer school that's supposed to protect your home. And they're taking them off in order to protect their home from being targeted. And it's just so sad to see what's happening here and what's unfolding. You know what she just said? She was
at the music festival when nearly 300 people were murdered, assassinated. She comes back to New York and feels less safe. I mean, I wish I can get this tape to the mayor, Eric Adams, or the governor, Kathy Hochul, because people say that all the time, and they laugh it off. Oh, that's your perception. But you're right. I've told kids, don't take your yarmulkes off. Don't take your Jewish stars off.
Because it's like letting them win.
They've won. Exactly. Well, listen, in the last minute, there are some people that think that this hostage swap, and they love Israeli people. They understand we value each life to a certain extent. They won there. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. With these hostage swaps, it's upsetting to know that we're letting out people who are a threat and who are dangerous. But at the end of the day, that's the core of Judaism, is that we care so much about every single Jewish life. And it does give hope that we're going to get some of them back. But at the end of the day, it doesn't end there because we want all of them back.
Right. Hopefully we get them all back. What are you doing for Thanksgiving on a lighter note?
Tonight I'm doing a Friendsgiving, and then tomorrow I'll probably just do something with my parents, something small, quiet.
Good.
I miss
You have a
being
lot
with
to be
them.
thankful for, if you think
Yes.
about it. I mean, right?
Yes.
You really
I have a
do.
lot to be thankful for. I've been given a second chance at life.
Good for you. You're great. Please keep coming back. And,
Thank you.
you become a very important voice. All of my friends that speak every day at different universities, at places on the internet, they all know you. And they appreciate what you do. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Natalie Sanandaji.